Republicans continue to bank on Americans having a shallow memory, that they only think about what happened yesterday or the day before, right? So Donald Trump and his ilk think they can say, hey, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Well, of course you are better off than you were 4 years ago. People say, oh, but people don't feel it. There's inflation. Yes, there is inflation, but your wages are going up faster than inflation. And by the way, if you want to blame somebody for inflation, blame the only people who have the ability to increase prices, whether they need to or not, and that's your corporation. So the people that the Republicans defend so often are the ones that are giving them the shaft. So the question again is, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Of course you are. Whether you want to accept it or not, people are saying, well, you can't tell people to feel a certain way. They're better off, but they don't feel that way. That is like saying a ball, if I let a ball go, it's definitely going to fall on the ground, but I don't feel like that ball is going to fall and hit the ground. People wake to hell up. In the aggregate, are we better off than we were 4 years ago? Absolutely. Are we better off than we were all these other times? Absolutely. And reporters and media, stop playing into the fallacies of the right that's given people making people believe it is okay to fool themselves. It is okay to lie to themselves. It is okay to feel a certain way, even if the reality is a stark difference. Grow up. But anyway, listen to what we have to hear with El Señor Hayes, because he puts it out in video. Check it out.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Nearly every presidential candidate asks the question, including Donald Trump, who really shouldn't. And his supporters, folks like Sean Hannity, are even getting defensive about it.
But over there at that hard-hitting news show, The View, Whoopi Goldberg is accusing you of having memory issues for believing that you were better off 4 years ago.
Okay, let's try to remember back then. We've got some evidence. It's the front page of the New York Times. It's from 4 years ago exactly. Today, April 3rd, 2020. Headline: Unrivaled job losses accelerate across U.S. 6.6 million apply for benefits. Commerce grinds to near halt. Few unscathed by toll of virus across the city. That big map there was showing the movements of Americans based on cell phone data, and it showed in white where those stay-at-home orders had halted almost all travel. States like New York and Michigan. The situation was bad, and it was scary, and it was getting worse. And the president, overseeing this unspooling disaster, was trying to sell a totally different reality in his daily 77-minute news conference.
Breaking news tonight, more than 250,000 coronavirus cases recorded in the U.S. In New York, the deadliest day so far. Who dropped the ball?
Well, I always knew that pandemics are one of the worst things could happen.
On the front lines, a dire shortage of protective gear.
We have done a job like nobody's ever done a job.
This is life or death.
Nurses are calling it a daily suicide mission.
But as of this morning, people were very, very happy.
We are afraid for our patients. We're afraid for our families. We're afraid for our lives.
Do you think every state in this country should be prepared for mail-in voting?
No, because I think a lot of people cheat with mail-in voting.
As some funeral homes and cemeteries struggle to keep pace with the skyrocketing number of fatalities.
You just asked your question in a very nasty tone. Let's go.
You didn't give me an answer.
Please.
Mr. President,
I gave you a perfect answer. You know it.
It's very hard because, my brother, he died alone.
Hydroxychloroquine. I don't know. It's looking like it's having some good results.
The major change in guidance. The CDC now recommending all Americans wear face coverings amid new concerns the virus can spread just by talking.
This is voluntary. I don't think I'm going to be doing it.
why are you opposed to wearing one yourself?
Well, I just don't want to wear one myself. I'm feeling good.
Tonight, the economic crisis is spiraling.
You try and make it sound so bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what? You ought to be ashamed. It's such a simple question.
The devastating economic toll. The government estimating over 700,000 jobs lost in March, while the actual numbers are far worse.
Mr. President, there are news reports that you want to sign the stimulus checks that are going out here in several months. Is that right? Do you want to sign those?
I know.
The underlying unemployment rate today is probably already 10%, if not higher.
This is ending. This will end. You'll see some bad things, and then you're going to see some really good things. And it's not going to be too long.
So you tell me, you want to trade places with us 4 years ago? You want to go back there? Are you better off today? Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?
Once again, are you better off than look, individuals are not necessarily better off, but that doesn't matter in what economy. Some people do well, some people don't do well. But in the aggregate, from the amount of jobs out there to everything else, are you better off today than you were last 4 years ago? The answer is an absolute yes. When you hold a ball in your hands and you drop it, it falls down. It doesn't matter if you feel that ball maybe won't fall down. When you open your hands, that ball will fall down. When you look at your personal economy, if you look at your 401k, if you look at these other things, your life is better than it was 4 years ago. Stop buying into the feelings that Republicans are trying to fool you into feeling. Stop buying into the negativity that they want to promote in order for you to get things. Yesterday, I talked about if you want to have a successful economy, economies do much better under Democrats than Republicans. And that's not a feeling. That's a statement of fact that is verifiable. So please, folks, we should all grow up and stop allowing others to cater our minds, to inflict in our minds fallacies that are just that, fallacies.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.